We're all just a bunch of dudes. And some of us believe that we can do anything, and some of us believe we can't. You can't be brave if you're not scared to begin with, and you can't be courageous if there's nothing to overcome. So
it's not always going to be rainbows and sunshines. There's going to be uncertainty. There's going to be pressure, and that is entrepreneurship.
there's a spot in this world for everybody, whatever it is that you want to do.
Today, I've got Zach Miller on the show. Zach is the founder of Texas Premier Black Car Services, a husband, a proud girl dad, and a man of faith who's building a business rooted in purpose, persistence, and legacy. From climbing the corporate ladder as a college dropout to stepping out and building something of his own, Zach's journey is one a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders are going to connect with. Zach, pumped to have you on. Welcome to the show, brother.
Good morning, Sean. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the great introduction.
Of course, man. So I want for our listeners, we're sitting at a coffee shop. We're just having a conversation back and forth. We got to talk a little bit about the episode today. So I'm super excited to really dive into your story. But I want you to take us back for a minute. What did that early season of your life look like when things didn't follow the traditional path as far as your corporate journey and college journey? So take us back to that early season of life when things didn't really follow in the traditional path.
Yeah. Well, man, I grew up in Kingwood, and like a lot of people our age these days, college is the typical path, right? Man, I'll tell you, I got there. I wasn't the best student in high school. I always tested well. I never did my homework. I got to college and I found it just wasn't for me. And as deterring as that is, or maybe feeling like an outcast not going the same path as everybody else, I came back and I got a job. I had a few different jobs in a few different warehouses, but one of my friend's dad, he gave me a job in warehousing for logistics. I was working in like a receiving department for freight coming into the warehouse. And first order every day was sweep the floor. So I like to say, I literally started shining floors in the morning. But I met some really good people along the way. I still work in supply chain today. I've kind of climbed my way up through that to I'm now an operations manager for a solar panel company. We run a pretty big supply chain throughout the U.S. I guess really I was always trying to build something for myself and maybe prove to other people that I wasn't stupid or something because I didn't go to college. So I always had maybe a chip on my shoulder or something to prove. And as I went along that journey and I started, getting promotions and going to next stages and learning more about not only supply chain, but business as a whole, man, I realized I could do this, and things were going really well. And I recently got into management. Well, I guess it's been almost 4 years now. And man, I think I've got there and I've realized that it's not everything that I thought it would be. I've always been a really hard worker. I still consistently to this day work 12 to 16 hour days, just trying to make sure things go right. And again, as that time went on, I always had the itch to maybe be an entrepreneur or do my own thing. So last year I made the jump and I started Texas Premier Black Car Services. And here we are a year later and things are going great. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Beautiful. So you've transitioned. So you're working 12, 16-hour days. You're doing what it takes to put a roof over your head. You got a little baby girl. You're married. You're a man of faith. And you're working 12, 14, 15, 16-hour days to build your dream. I'm transitioning is when you think about everything, because I know there's listeners and leaders thinking about this right now. It's tough. It's challenging. You've probably faced so many obstacles that we don't even have enough time to get into today. But everything that you're building right now, what's the deeper why behind it all?
So maybe the easiest way to describe this would be a story. So working from home, in my office, I have a big TV in front of me right now. Usually Netflix runs in the background, get some distraction throughout the day. About a year ago, whenever I started this, and like I said, I got to this position and it wasn't as fulfilling as I thought. And I looked around and I saw people around me. And again, I kind of just wanted something more, something for myself. But anyways, I was watching this show called Ballers. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It has The Rock in there. But there's this one scene that I think really made me jump. And The Rock is sitting in the car with his coworker or partner, Joe, and he asked him if he's ever told him the story about his dad. So he goes on to tell him the story, and he says that his dad worked in the mill in like Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and he provided a great living for his family. It wasn't anything lavish, but they had a roof over their heads and they had what they needed. And after 30 years, his dad gets a call into the boss's office. So he finally gets to meet the man that's been calling the shots. And he says, "Do you know what the boss said?" Joe says, "No, what did he say?" And The Rock says, "Nothing special." Right. So after 30 years, he gets to sit across from the guy that has been calling these shots. And he realizes that the boss is nothing special, that he's just another guy, and that he could have been that guy would he have realized it and believed in himself 30 years ago. Right. So he goes on to say, we're all just a bunch of dudes. And some of us believe that we can do anything, and some of us believe we can't. And again, I had, always the itch to kind of go out and do something for myself. And I was always so scared to do so. But I think whenever I watched that and I heard that, the very end of that speech was, so which guy do you want to be? And I wanted to be the guy. I want to lead things for my life. I want to make the decisions to better my family and better those around me, and not be stuck working a job for so many hours a day that pulls me away, that at the end of the day, no matter how hard I work, there's going to be a review at the end of the year. And if they decide that they want to give me more money, they can or they can't. So the job that I'm currently working, I've been working, like I said, for just almost 4 years, and always had great reviews, been an outstanding employee. I haven't received a single raise in those 4 years. And, every time bonus season comes around, it's always, oh, well, we can't do this and we can't do that. So I made the jump for myself. It was last year at this time, exact same time, actually. I was waiting for a bonus to come through, and the company had still kind of been putting it off and putting it off. And I had told my wife that I had an idea about starting my own company, because I had been trying to think of something that I could do, right? Something that would obviously involve risk, but not too much to where it would put my family in a position, but something that I could really get the wheels going, and something that I like to do so that I could be passionate about it as well, right? So in 2022, I was on 35 flights for work, traveling to different warehouses, different places, meeting people for work, and countless Ubers, countless terrible Ubers, stinky cars, people that didn't care to be there. It just wasn't a pleasurable experience. And I was actually in the last ride, the last Uber that I took in Phoenix, and I was with my boss, and we got in. The driver wasn't in there. There was a half-eaten orange in the back seat, and it didn't smell good. So that kind of kick-started on the way back to the airport, because I kind of thought at that time, like, I can do this. I have a baby coming. I really want to make more money and do better for my family. And I could do this. Driving's not that bad. I can work at nighttime. I can get a new SUV. Who doesn't like an all black Tahoe sitting in the driveway? And, if it works, it works. And if not, then I guess I have a new Tahoe that I get to ride around with my daughter in, So I took an Uber Black on the way back to the airport that day, and I started picking this guy's brain. He pulled up in it was like a brand new Suburban. And I started asking him, hey, how, out of the money that I paid, how much are you making? How did you get started? Do you run your own business? And I went home and started planning and learning on the internet. And one day I woke up and told my wife, there's no more waiting. Let's go get the car. We went out that day. We bought a Tahoe, and I came back and I started chat GPTing of how to start a business and what type of licenses I needed. And a year later, the rest is kind of history. And I just bought a second car and going through the same fears and the same thing all over again.
Man, what a beautiful story. I'm curious, man. So I have so many questions right now, and I want to get it all. I want to get it all in this short period of time, because you're so humble, you're so poised and cool, calm, collected going through this experience. And I know our listeners are getting so much value right now. Well, you had mentioned fears, and you'd been doing this for 12 months now. What are some of those biggest fears or internal battles that Zach Miller is facing that you've had to overcome in this season of launching your luxury transportation service?
Yeah, I think as any human, and especially as men and the provider of a household and having a kid, wanting to provide for them, that risk is difficult, right? And it's scary. I think that was obviously the biggest thing that had always held me back of, how do I take a calculated risk, but also make a jump? And I had always, looking back, you know, saw that the dots connected the way that they should. And I got to the current position that I was in, and I was talking to God and kind of leaning on my faith. And, am I supposed to be here? Is this where is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And what's next? Right. And I looked at everything that I had done in the past, and I thought, well, maybe, because I had been applying for other jobs for a year or two, things I was well qualified for just due to the stress of my current situation, and it wasn't working out. And I thought, well, maybe it's not working out for a reason. Maybe I'm not supposed to have a different step in this career path. Maybe I'm supposed to do something for myself, and that's why I'm here. So again, I think that risk was probably the biggest thing that held me back. But I had always learned through experience that you can't be brave if you're not scared to begin with, and you can't be courageous if there's nothing to overcome. So, like many times before, and kind of who I am as a person, I threw caution to the wind, and make a calculated risk and kind of send it, and pray and hope that this is the right decision, and that's where God's leading me. And I think today I could confidently say that that was the right decision.
Dude, I love how you bring faith into this, because there's a million other things that you could have said: pride, ego, money, people, your support, but you brought in faith. You brought in having that courage to knowing that out of everything that you have going on in your life, it could be chaos, but at the same time, having peace through that, knowing that your relationship with our Christ and Lord and Savior, Jesus, that gives you that confidence to go, hey, you know what? It's not always going to be rainbows and sunshines. There's going to be uncertainty. There's going to be pressure. And that is entrepreneurship. That's the beautiful thing, because here's the thing. I'm a big believer in Zach Miller is a child of God, and also called to be that 10.0 version of himself. So what does that look like? Well, before stepping out into entrepreneurship, you may be at 4.2, but we both know that we are students of the game, and we are called to be that 10.0 version that God has called us to be. And that's what I'm hearing you say going through this, because that is where growth happens, is where you get stretched, where you get pressured. It's those uncertain times. It's scary. It's uncomfortable, but that's the whole point of entrepreneurship, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that's who we were meant to be, right? For somebody that wants that and feels that pressure. And life is full of those pressures anyway, in many different ways. So if that's something that, I obviously wanted to do, or you obviously wanted to do, or for anybody out there that has that calling, like you said, I think that's part of the game, right? And it's God leading you down that path and stretching you in certain ways to build you up for where he needs you to be and what he needs you to be in the future. So crazy enough, I was listening to another episode of your podcast, and I recently bought a second vehicle, right? And rodeo season is busy, and I was having to turn down clients that I've worked so hard to build. And I heard something on one of your podcasts the other day. It said, delayed obedience is disobedience. I had prayed for consistent business, and that one day I told my wife we were going to be in the position to buy a second SUV. You're going to be just as scared. And about 2 weeks ago, I was in that exact position, and I had been turning down jobs, and I heard that. And I was like, wow, I'm being disobedient. I'm getting what I asked for. And the reason that I'm going to stop the blessings that are coming my way by not listening. Right. So, again, we went out on a limb on a Sunday and bought a new SUV, and it's terrifying. I mean, I'm going to cry because I'm, for one, grateful, and also terrified because I don't think that ever truly goes away in entrepreneurship.
Nope.
But
let it loose.
We went out, and my dad had recently retired, and he was looking for some other jobs to make up things in the meantime. And they weren't calling him back either. So I bought the second SUV, and now I'm actually working with my dad. And we worked a rodeo job together the other day for the first time, which was really neat to get to hang out, because it's cool to work with your dad on your own business, And I was telling him, like, look, I'm doing this and it's going well, but I'm obviously still scared because I can't really see around the corner. Like, rodeo season is really busy, but whenever it gets to overhead and future business around that, like, people don't book black car businesses really 2 or 3 months in advance all the time. And no more than 2 minutes later, I got a Facebook message asking to book for June 22nd and July 1st. And I was like, man, that's God telling me to shut up, you know? So it was really cool. It's been an awesome journey. I'm super thankful, and I look forward to the people like you that continues to introduce me to and where things go.
Yeah, man, it's all in God's timing. You know, sometimes it can happen within a matter of seconds, minutes, days, sometimes weeks, months, years. But it's who we're becoming in that journey. And I think men like you that step out in faith, that step out in courage, that's where God delivers, I believe, because you're being obedient and you're surrendering to that. And we correct course along the way. And I'm on a mission to really surround myself with individuals like yourself that are able to speak those words and embody it. See, it's one thing to preach it, teach it, be a professor on it, and that's going on all around us. You can listen to this podcast, YouTube, you can read books, but at the end of the day, 95% people are not taking the action. And that's not what God wants. I believe he wants us to take action and have that courage to step out in faith that falls into alignment with who we're called to be. And I think that's what's powerful. Now, on the flip side of that, I have a question. This is a challenging question for you. And I heard this recently on a podcast. I listened to Ed Milet, and he was interviewing Damon John, which is founder of Fubu. And he had asked him, he's like, Damon, do you think everybody should be an entrepreneur? And it got me thinking. I already knew the answer to that, because I've been doing this for 10 years now, and I've seen other business owners. The statistics don't lie on what the failure rate is. So I'm curious with your thoughts, man. Do you think everybody can be a business owner or entrepreneur?
It's a really good question. Do I think that everybody could? Yes. Do I think that everybody should? No.
Tell me more.
I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. Entrepreneurship isn't easy. Taking risks isn't easy. There's a spot in this world for everybody, whatever it is that you want to do. Being a business owner is a really hard thing, but if you are not committed to doing the small things right and showing up every day and really working to make a difference and make a positive impact on other people's lives and not just your own, then it's not something that I would think works out for everybody.
Yeah, man, it made me think of a book. Do you read books?
Yes, when I can.
Every other podcast episode, I love this book because it really changed my thinking, my mindset around what actually a business is. Because a business, from my mentors have always told me, a business, you can either have a liability or an asset. Asset basically is a business that's well-oiled machine and it's running without you. So you can have that freedom to go do what it is that you really want to do. And then a liability is what most people do, right? So there's this book. It's called The E-Myth, Entrepreneur Myth by Michael E. Gerber. Highly recommend reading it. It takes you through this phase, and it's super easy to understand, where you first start off as a technician, where you're the one driving the vehicle, driving the luxury cars, driving people around, accepting the payments. It's a job at that point. Then the goal is to take it from a technician, which is you're the one doing the work, to the manager. So now you're managing your vehicles, your two vehicles. You're not the one driving it. You're not the one picking people up. You're managing that, the systems, the processes. Then you want to go from technician to manager to entrepreneur. So this is the most challenging part, where most people throw in the towel because they don't have the big enough why. They don't have that emotional, compelling nature on why they started the business in the first place. Well, I started the business to drive, to make some extra income. And then they pick their head up in 3 years, and they're the ones that have 5 vehicles, but they're trying to drive every single vehicle, and they're wore out. They're exhausted because they're the technician and the manager. So then the goal is to become the entrepreneur, where you're the one replacing yourself in that ladder. So you create that time freedom, financial freedom to stay in your lane and what it is that you want to do. And it takes you through this process in these phases, and it takes time. So that's why you have to have that why. And it sounds like you do, but making sure that you visit that on a regular basis is so important. And I see with working with so many entrepreneurs and business owners around me that's what they do. They get in because they love plumbing, Zach. They love driving people around. They love selling people's homes or writing people's insurance. But then they pick their head up, and the reason they started their business is they're not doing the thing that they loved. And now they hate it, and they just have another high-paying job. So where did I go wrong? And that's typically what happens, is like, oh, I'm the one doing all the work. And it's just not sustainable. It's like trying to go out and run a marathon, but full sprint. It's an endurance race. We hear that all the time, but it takes so long to understand that and then surround yourself with other like-minded people, with different perspectives on that. Any thoughts on that?
I think that I, along with many others, probably find ourselves in that exact same position, right? Hiring, I don't want to say hiring, but working with my dad and having a second vehicle and not being the person that's having the conversations, not being the person that's cleaning the car before I'm going and making sure that everything is 100% the way that I would do it, right? It is a tough thing, but I think it takes a lot of trust in the people that you hire and the people that you work with, and then trusting them to be the great person that you know that they are and go out and do the great things that you know that they're capable of. That's why you're working together in the first place. But delegation is hard. It's very difficult to look at something that you've put so much into and trust somebody else with it. But there's only so much that we as business owners or entrepreneurs can do. And like you said, I started this to make some extra income and to be less stressed than I was before at a job that I didn't or don't currently enjoy doing. So I think there's phases of life, owning a business and lessons that need to be taught. And sometimes learning those lessons is really hard. But again, I look back on where I'm at and the things that I've learned and the positions that I've been in and corporate jobs and the lessons I've learned there. I was like, okay, I was in a management position to learn how to speak to people before I was a business owner so that I knew how to be a good leader at that time, right? I learned how to delegate so that I could expand and focus on the things that I needed to focus on, like marketing and expansion and things like that. So you can't do it all. It's very difficult to wear a bunch of different hats throughout a day, to be the person answering the phone, selling the jobs, driving the car, cleaning the car, making sure that everything is right. But like you said, you're the technician and, you build and you grow from there. And I think it's surrounding yourself with good people that you can trust to take over those jobs and be hopefully a better you than when you were in that position, and to continue to be who you want to be and continue to expand.
Man, Zach, you are awesome human being, brother. Just in this short period of time before the episode, dude, I just love how real, raw, and authentic and transparent you are, man. I've really enjoyed just hearing your story, man. It's been nothing but impactful. So I'm just grateful for you to say yes to be on the show today.
I'm honored, man. Again, another thing that I think God brought us together, and that it shows that we're both on the right path. So I'm honored to be here.
Agreed, man. Final question here, and then we're going to get into rapid fire questions. So this is some of our listeners' favorite last 2 minutes is the rapid fire round. So I wanted to get your mind right. But my final question for you is, we didn't even get a chance, man. We may have to have you on for another episode to talk about your family and your being a man of faith. I know we rarely tapped into that, but that is so important. When your daughter is older and you look back on this season, what do you hope she says her dad stood for?
Oh man, you're going to make me cry. I want my daughter to know that my dad was there, for one. I want to be present, and I want her to know that her dad loves her, but that my dad went out and faced the world and did everything that he could do to provide her the best life possible. So I just want to be a good role model. And I hope she sees me
Beautiful,
in the positive light that I'm trying to work to show her.
Well, dude, just in this short period of time of building this relationship with you, I can tell you are already doing that. She's going to listen to this episode several years from now. She's going to come give you the biggest hug and kiss. So I wanted to make sure we recorded that, and you'll be able to share that with her when she does get older, man. So beautiful. Thanks for sharing that.
I appreciate that. Sorry for the tears.
Nah, I told you not to hold back, man. That was one of my things with you before we recorded the episode is can't hold back. So you're being yourself. All right, rapid fire questions. Here we go. We got 5 questions. Here's the instructions. Super simple. Quick answers. Don't overthink it, okay? All right, first one. One word that defines the season of your life.
Challenging.
Biggest lesson the corporate world taught you.
I don't know the words that I'm looking for. Unfulfilling.
One trait every entrepreneur needs.
Persistence.
Into that. What matters more right now? Freedom, peace, or growth?
Peace.
What's one thing you never want to sacrifice while building success?
My family.
Beautiful. Zach, this has been a powerful conversation, man. I, again, appreciate your honesty today, your faith, and your willingness to build with purpose, not just for success, but for your family, your little girl, your freedom, and the legacy you want to leave behind. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders listening are going to connect with your story. And so for those who want to follow Zach and learn more about Texas Premier Black Car Services here in Montgomery County, make sure you reach out and follow him on the social. Zach, thanks again for being here, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you again, Sean.